everyone. So we have, you know the routine, I don't, but apparently we have a student presentation first, and then hopefully Mike Carlton will be here to begin at 11 or somewhere about that. And you have lots of questions for him, I'm sure. Make him work for his pay here. He's not getting paid, but. So we'll just turn it over to you guys. You're calling, right? Yes, sir. All right, very good. What happened?
Do you know why it's not showing? Never mind. Okay.
All right, so our presentation is on immigration and labor.
We have a video to show you. This just is going to, we're going to ask you after the video what your opinion is on immigration and labor, and pay attention to how the media portrays it.
A million migrant workers are still here in the United States and hoping for change. And John Quinones now looks at their lives through memories of his own.
These are the faces of some of the hardest working people I know. The people who labor 18 hours a day under the blistering sun, bugs and insecticides, harvesting the food we eat, all because they want their children to have a better life. Like the parents of the child in this photo. That is me.
When I was barely a teenager, my family and I journeyed all the way from Texas to Michigan and Ohio to harvest cherries and tomatoes. It was back-breaking work for very little money.
I remember that people worked even when they were sick, no days off. People like this man.
We get 70 cents for filling that sack.
Back when I was young, I thought things would change because I had a hero, Cesar Chavez, an activist who co-founded the United Farm Workers Association. He fought for simple changes, rest periods, clean water, health benefits. And a new movie, Cesar Chavez, chronicles the hunger strikes and boycotts that he led.
I'm angry that I live in a world where a man who cooks food can't feed his family.
That was 50 years ago. But tonight, in most of the country, farm workers are still not allowed to join a union. Most have no pension, no health care. Elvira Francois has been working in the citrus fields of Florida for 15 years, supporting her 3 kids on $200 a week.
And you have a problem here?
I'm allergic with the spoil and the food.
Elvira and others like her looking for a new hero. Many of these farm workers don't even know who Cesar Chavez was.
Do you know who Cesar Chavez is? ¿Sabes quién es
No,
Cesar Chavez?
lo voy a escuchar, pero no.
America's farm workers, counting on us to give children a chance, like I had. The migrant kid who dreamed of someday becoming a TV reporter. The kid who was so inspired by Cesar Chavez. John Quinones, ABC News, Fellsmere, Florida.
Okay, so does anybody have any opinions of that video and or how the media portrayed immigration and labor?
I think they looked at some of the extremes, like as far as conditions and like pay and such. Like when they pointed out that large sack for picking and that they only got 70 cents for that. Well, that either is extremely old information or something of that nature, because there's no way that that's to pay for today.
Okay, and what we wanted to point out was that people that don't have a background in agriculture probably see that video and are really against immigration and labor and feel really bad for them and that they don't get paid well and they don't understand the real issue.
Like we were saying, people aren't aware of what it takes to put food on the table, how hard it is. The media is predominantly focused on civil rights and the need for fair working conditions. They also focus on negative aspects of the farm labor. If the agriculture industry is reliant on the immigrants to produce food on a daily basis, and the disconnect between media and the public in the agricultural industry. Immigration and immigrant workers dates back to slavery in America. The slaves were relied on harvesting the crops for the owners. The Great Depression fueled another wave of immigrant workers. Everyone was losing their jobs, and they had to go find work on the farmland, and which formed many of the large migrant camps in America.
So some of the stakeholders, first are farmers. Farmers are the ones who provide the work for the migrant workers. They also keep the prices low for our consumers. And also in our issues briefing guide, we talked about how if there weren't any migrant workers, then Americans probably wouldn't want to take that work, or if they would do it for a much larger pay, which means your produce would be a lot more than what we pay for now. Also, many Americans, like I said, wouldn't want to do the migrant work. There also is the side of the migrant workers. So a lot of migrant workers come from foreign countries, and they are honestly grateful to have a job and be in America doing this work for us. There's also a lot of job security because of the different growing seasons.
The other stakeholder is the media. Like I said before, it focuses on the negative aspects of migrant work. And the public does believe these negative aspects because they believe what the media puts out there. People without agriculture backgrounds don't understand the consequences of there being no migrant workers. The government also is another stakeholder because they try to play advocate for both sides. They try to play fair for the migrant workers' conditions and for the farmers. They try to understand that there are two sides of the issue. And Congress passes laws to try to aid both the farmers and the migrant workers. And for example, the Migrant and Seasonal Protection Act of 1983 was passed to provide better hours and conditions for the migrant workers. And then labor unions are the last stakeholder. Migrant workers now join these unions to receive better treatment and pay and hours.
And this video is used to show the other side of the issue.
Just under 8% of Americans don't have a job. In California, that number stands at 9.8%. Problem is, there is plenty of work in farm fields, but not enough workers.
New tonight, Ian Schwartz talked with one farmer who fears that the lack of help could cost him during his most critical time.
These asparagus crops are ready to go, but there aren't enough people to pick them fast enough this year.
For sure, it's getting worse every year. All my friends in the business are all pretty concerned.
At Zuckerman's farm near Stockton, manager George Biaggi says they rely on documented migrant workers like many farmers in the valley. Usually by April, 70 people will be here picking these stalks, but only about 40 have returned to work so far. George thinks tighter immigration crackdowns are keeping workers from trying to get jobs across the border. New farming opportunities in Mexico will also have farm hands working closer to home.
Asparagus needs to be picked at just the right time, when it looks like this. If you don't have enough guys to pick it fast enough, it'll continue to grow and flower out. George says this one will not sell.
So if you got stuff that's 18 inches high because you couldn't get there to cut it in time, that's lost revenue, lost production.
Many Americans are still unemployed, but George says they won't take these jobs. He's tried with newspaper ads.
It's really backbreaking. I mean, it's really difficult work.
George says if migrant workers are the only ones willing to work these fields, a guest worker program is the best solution.
I think that's the only way this industry is going to survive, or any industry that is overly dependent on migrant workers or laborers.
George says he used to grow asparagus until June, but now his season only goes till mid-May since there aren't enough people to get the job done.
Alright, so did you guys see or notice anything that was different in this video as compared to the last one?
It's the complete polar opposite. They're saying that there's a lack of workers and that we need immigrant workers pretty much because no one else wants to do the work.
Right.
It's just, I mean, American people nowadays aren't going to go out to the orange groves, the strawberry fields. That's a big one in Plant City right now, is there's no machine to pick strawberries. They have to do it by hand, so you have all these migrant workers that have to pick them, and with all this reform and stuff, I mean, we're not going to have enough to pick them, and it's gonna just, the price will go out the roof.
So, yeah. Does anybody have any questions?